us now is Sam Nelson. He's the mind behind the YouTube channel Samination. What's going on, Sam? How you doing?
Doing all right. How you guys doing?
So tell us a little bit about your channel and how you started, because you're really interesting. Your channel's really interesting. You do a lot of animated content. How did you start doing animated content for YouTube?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. Animation is something I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid. And I actually got my start on Newgrounds.com. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Anyways, Newgrounds was the YouTube, before YouTube. And for some reason, every time I uploaded a video, an animation there, they always put it on the front page. So someone there really liked me. I guess it was Tom Fulp, the creator of Newgrounds. And so that really helped me kind of get started and realize, oh, people actually like the junk I make. So I just kept making videos, and then when YouTube came along, I jumped over and I was kind of releasing content on both sites. And then when YouTube introduced monetization, I started making videos or series specifically for my YouTube channel. And now today it's pretty much just all YouTube.
So you have your 8th Dead by Daylight parody that's going to be coming out soon, hopefully. What made you start animating content based around that game specifically?
Well, I do a lot of animated parodies of video games. I've done parodies of Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild and Resident Evil and
we were watching your Link's Awakening one earlier today.
That's a good one. I hope
it is.
So I'm very familiar with doing parodies of video games that I really enjoy. And Dead by Daylight, I had just gotten Steam, and because I had just gotten a really good laptop that could actually play video games, and so I got into Steam and played Soma and gone home, and then I saw the Steam game Dead by Daylight. I never saw it when it was in beta. I think I got it the day it came out of beta. And I was in love, it was the game for me. I mean, it was messy in the start, but it was nobody knew what they were doing. So it was so much fun, just to jump in there and play. And I played that game every day. It was it's my second job at that point. And so a year later, it finally hit me, I should make a parody of this video game. And I thought nobody is going to watch this, but I love this game so much. I just want to do it anyway. So I made I think the first parody was 3.5 minutes. It was really short, but it captured everything about that game so perfectly. And it just took off. The views were just insane. And the developers even embraced it. They used to do weekly Twitch shows, and they showed it right at the start of their Twitch show. And so that was wow. That was a huge moment for me. Then there was also Friday the 13th that came out right after around the same time that I made this first parody, because it had been a year. I think Friday the 13th came out a year after Dead by Daylight, if I'm not mistaken. And while I didn't like that game quite as much, I appreciate that game has some super mega fans, I'm telling you. But I played it. It was a bit clunky for me, but it had really nice graphics, and it really captured the movies, I thought. So they really did a good job with the characters and all that. So I made a parody of that because that game has so much going on with it. It was really easy to also just capture it into an animation, and that one also did super well, and I thought no one would watch that either, but they did. And then I made another one, and the developers actually put the second one on the front page of the Friday the 13th game website.
Wow.
And that video, I think, is my most viewed video on my channel because of that.
And I'll say, one thing that you do well in those videos is really kind of just basically pointing out not only what the community does, but what's kind of wrong with the game or the bugs in it. So you joke around with it, and it makes it really funny. And people who play the game will pick up on that joke immediately and be yes. And I think that's probably why it's still niche, but you did so well with that.
Yes, and I have a theory that the developers watch my videos and they try to make them all obsolete.
They're ruining your video one at a time.
I've even accused them of this. I'm like, you're doing this on purpose. You're fixing hatches where they can be closed now.
Oh, that's
to ruin my jokes.
That is too funny. You're listening to Checkpoint XP Esports and Gaming Radio. We're hanging out with Sam Nelson of the Samination YouTube channel, and I'm actually going to turn a question that we get asked to us quite regularly, and I'm going to pose it to you because a lot of times people come to us and go, why do you guys do a radio show about video games? You could do a radio show about anything. You could do a podcast about anything. What is it about video games that is so special? So, Sam, to you, what is it about, doing parodies of specifically video games as opposed to all of the number of content out there? What is it about video games that attracts you?
I guess because I love video games. I've always loved video games, and when I'm really addicted to one like Dead by Daylight or the Zelda series, I just have all these ideas just come to me. And I'm like, oh, I can make this into a very funny video. I have done parodies of movies like Jurassic World and Jurassic World 2. And I think there's some other things. But yeah, most of my parodies are video game related.
So you're really a one-stop shop. You do the writing, the animations, the editing, and the voiceover. How do you manage to fit all of that into your schedule?
I've kind of got it down to a science now. Sometimes I will think about scripts for a very long time, and other times I'll just sit down and I'll write a script in one day. It just depends on how creative I am at that moment. But yeah, like for like Dead by Daylight 8, which I'm working on right now, I know it's gonna take about a month because that's how long it usually takes me to make an animation like that.
Wow.
Maybe a little over a month if you include the writing process and the recording of the audio. And I'm constantly like rewriting everything. Like I've been working on this one scene. It's a scene where a character is trying to find a match, and she keeps going into a lobby in the game and getting dodged by the killer. And then she'll go into another one, and there's something wrong with that one, and she'll leave. So she's just having trouble finding a match. And I've been working on that one for like the last 3 days, and I keep like rewriting it and editing it and adding new jokes and stuff. And at some point I'll say, this is done, and I'll move on to the next one. But yeah, I'll keep writing and editing up right to the last minute usually.
And when you do all these things, and one of them obviously is the voicing of these characters. So how do you create some of the voices of these characters, like the Trapper, for instance? Like, how do you get into that mindset of a character that isn't necessarily even yours? Like, you're borrowing that content.
Trapper is it's a unique one. It's a voice that actually came up with. I had a series. I still have a series. It's called Taco Man Plays a Video Games, about a taco that plays video games. But there was one really early on. I think it was like episode 3 or 4, where he was playing the Sega CD version of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. And there were all these cutscenes, and there was like these two humans and this alien creature. And I just was like ad-libbing what they were saying to each other. And that's when the Trapper voice was created, was for this alien guy. And then like later I made another series called Empty Space, which was about where a planet sends or tricks all the idiots on the planet to get into a ship, and they shoot them into space. And the main character in that show had Trapper's voice as well. And I think I've used it in some other animations that didn't stick around. But then when this came along, it just fit for him. Like if you hear him in the game when like he gets
like hit
stunned, yeah, when he goes ooh. So it sounded like, oh, he should have that voice. And plus he has like that happy that face that's always smiling, so he kind of looks dopey a bit.
Could you give us a little bit of the Trapper?
Yes, hello, I'm the Trapper. What is this?
I think reusing voices just comes down to efficiency. I mean, I recently saw some of Matt Mercer's notes for Critical Role, and when he has a new NPC, in parentheses, the voice it uses is like a callback to a character he's voiced in a game before.
That's interesting.
Yeah, super interesting. I have a question for you, a little bit more over on sort of the technical side. Nerd City recently posted a video about what title words gets demonetized or limited on YouTube, and dead and killer are 2 words on that list.
Yeah.
Has that affected your channel growth in any way?
Actually, no. I rejoined back with YouTube partnership about 2 years ago, and they give you like a strategic partner manager to help you.
Oh, very cool.
And so if I ever get like a video demonetized, I can have them look into it. And I usually get it remonetized. I did have a problem with Dead by Daylight about 6 months ago. I think they demonetized the very first one, and I was like, why? And she looked into it, and she came back, and all she said was that the title wasn't clear enough that it was a parody, even though parody is right there in the title. So
Okay, that makes no sense.
What she had me do was I had to put in parentheses like animated. So now every Dead by Daylight parody has the word animated after it.
Gotcha.
That's why. And she got it remonetized, but I haven't had any issues since. But yeah, I know that's a problem. And that's why I started this new series where it's more gameplay footage. It's like there's been like a Trapper video where he's
where you
playing as
Trapper.
himself.
Yeah. That's very funny.
Wraith playing as himself, and then now Nia playing as herself. And I wanted to call the whole thing the hookers, because that's like inside joke. To people that don't know, the killers, they have to put the survivors on hooks.
Right.
And so like Trapper came up with the idea, and I think it was the second episode, that they should call themselves the hookers, but it's like,
that's so funny.
The others didn't want to go along with that, so I wanted to call the series the hookers. So what I did was, to not get in trouble with YouTube, is I just made a playlist called the hookers.
Oh,
there you go.
I don't call the episode. I don't write the hookers in the title of any of their videos. I just throw them in this playlist that's called the hookers. So that's one way I got around that as well. But yeah, you have to play by the rules. I just think of it like network television. Like are you guys familiar with Ren and Stimpy?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, that show, the first season of that show is just like the greatest thing ever made, and it thrived.
Yeah, the John K version of the show is really the best version of the show.
But it thrived with censorship.
Right. Yeah, because they were kind of playing like right up to the edge of what you could do.
Right. It made them more creative.
Yeah.
They had to work around everything. Whereas when he was given full freedom to do whatever he wanted, when the show came back,
it was horrible.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
He needed that censorship to make him more creative. You know, it's kind of funny, but
you're absolutely right. Restriction breeds creativity. I 100% believe that. So real quick before we let you go, Sam, we appreciate your time today. What are you working on? Like, what's coming up next? Do you have any projects in the works that you can tell us about?
All right. Well, as you already know, Dead by Daylight 8's coming out, which everyone's asking for every day.
I'm asking for it. I'm telling you.
The life of a creator.
I do have a link under all my videos that shows it links you to everything that's being thought of being done. Like, I'm considering doing another Friday the 13th parody that's going to move into like parodying the movies, starting with part 6. And I may actually have the guy to do the voice that was in part 6.
Wow.
Well, and by the way, if you ever need voices,
yeah.
Really?
Really? I do Dungeons and Dragons games Monday night, so I have to come up with all types of voices for NPCs. So.
Oh yeah, I can do some really interesting voices for sure.
I mean,
I do, guys.
Yeah, I could just do this voice right here. Like, if you
Oh man.
Also, I'm working on something that's not horror related. It's like since like what I'm doing is already like skit shows. I'm making a show called Skit Show, which is going to be all one word, SKITSHO. It's just going to be a bunch of little tiny funny skits. that are gonna be as edgy as YouTube will allow me to be.
Okay.
I like it. I like
But
it.
it's gonna allow me to like test the waters with a lot of new ideas, and instead of like committing to a full-fledged show. So I'll like try a bunch of different little things and see if people like it, and if they do, I'll continue, or I'll just keep. If I make like another skit show, there'll be like another one of those skits in there.
Very cool. Sam Nelson of the Samination YouTube channel has been our guest here on Checkpoint XP. Looking forward to skit show and everything else that you have in the works. Sam, thank you so much for joining us here today on Checkpoint.
Well, thank you for having me.